Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. It is me, Carly, bringing you your inspirational vitamin again. I am going to be talking today about a topic that I've been going through in my Jesus Leadership Workbook. And we're going to be talking about vulnerability. Such a fun topic. More specifically about like Jesus's vulnerability and the example that he sets in that, and just some really cool insight that I feel like I've gotten out of the scriptures in this. So the story that I'll be reading and referencing is when Jesus is in the garden and he's praying 3 times for his cup to be taken from him. And the story is in every one of the Gospels, but I'll be reading out of Mark 14 for it. And vulnerability doesn't always necessarily look like you getting up in front of a bunch of people and telling like your whole life story to them, which it can be that, but it's not just that. And so in this passage, the whole thing is Mark 14:32 to 42, but I'm not going to read the whole thing. So basically what's happening is he takes Peter, James, and John with him even further out than the rest of his apostles, and he's praying and he says, Father, if you will, take this cup from me. But it's not my will, it is your will. And he does that 2 times, and then each time he finds them sleeping. So the 3rd time he goes and prays this, he says, this is in verses 41 and 42, he says, Then he came a 3rd time and said to them, Are you still sleeping and resting? Enough. The time has come. See, the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Get up, let's go. See, my betrayer is near. And the point I want to make with this is every time I've read this story, I've always felt like a deep sense of sadness and disloyalty to Jesus, that I feel like his disciples just like, I'm like, I can't believe they fell asleep. How could they do that? And realizing that the reason I feel like Jesus probably felt those things is because he was in an incredibly vulnerable position. And we think about vulnerability in kind of a different way, but the reason why we as humans don't really like vulnerability is because it's a risk that we take. And the risk is that that vulnerability won't be received well. It's a risk of rejection and hurt from the people around us. But I realized while reading this passage in the Bible, just that Jesus, like there was no risk for him. He knew exactly what was going to happen every single time, and he was vulnerable with his disciples anyways. He knew that Peter would disown him 3 times. He knew that James, John, and Peter would fall asleep on him. He knew that his hometown would not have faith for him to be there to heal them. And yet, he still chose to show that vulnerability every single time. He knew the outcome already. He knew that he would face betrayal and rejection and hurt every single time, and he still did it. And it challenged me in my own life just to choose vulnerability more often, despite the risk. That in that thought of what would Jesus do, or what would Jesus have me do in this situation, the answer is always to be vulnerable. And that's a cool thing I feel like I've been marinating on a lot in the past week. So I hope this helps you as well. Thanks.